what the headlines are saying across Nigeria. All right, I have with me in the studio two gentlemen, two lawyers in the studio to do justice just to what we're doing today. We have a publisher as well, an editor-in-chief, CKN News, Chris Kehinde-Nwandu. He calls himself the baby lawyer or the lawyer in the making. Nice to see you.
It's nice to be here.
And we also have international lawyer and public affairs analyst Olufemi Aina. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming as well.
Yes, thank you.
It's nice to see you both. Let's begin with the Guardian newspaper now. Fulani radio is route to crisis. Leaders warn. All right, that's on the front page of the Guardian. Let's move to the Vanguard. Oshodi Apapa Expressway. Truck owners begin vehicles removal today. And has some multiple riders there. Oshibajo to report compliance to Buhari. And stakeholders meet to implement presidential directive. No temporary park under Marine Bridge. Lagos State government is saying that. Who will enforce presidential directive? News analysis. Okay. We'll wait to see how that pans out. Okay, from the Vanguard, let's go to the Daily Sun. Governors blow hot over local government funds. Describe new NFIU guidelines as illegal to meet Buhari on insecurity. Be careful what you say, Oshibajo cautions governors. All right, that's what the Daily Sun has. From there, let's go to the Blueprint. IGP on insecurity. We're up to the task. Confirmed as police boss, pledges restructuring, and Puff Ada nabs 113 bandits, kidnappers, others in Borno, Kogi. All right, save us from bandits, Masari begs the federal government. All right, this may form part of what we might talk about as we get along. Now, The Nation is the next paper we'll look at now. Scores held as police battle criminals in Lagos and others. Operation Puff Ada yields big harvest. Adamu confirmed IG of police. Okay. From The Nation, let's go to this day. Fire meets emergence as NGF chair positions him as a Southwest numero uno. Okay. Vows not to sacrifice national interest. Okay. That's on this day. From there, let's go to the Daily Times, which is the last paper this morning. Fresh ASU strike looms. And as union accuses federal government of breaching agreement, Nigerians react, seek early resolution of dispute. That's what's on the front page of the Daily Times. But gentlemen, I'd like us to talk about the story on the Blueprint. IGP on insecurity, he says, we're up to the task. And he has been confirmed now. So being up to the task and with all the harvest, I think one of the papers put Puff Ada records a big harvest. Femi, I know, let me start with you on this.
Thank you. About the insecurity.
Yes, exactly. Nature of insecurity and the IG of police being confirmed now. How much of a difference would that make?
Let me start by congratulating him that at least it's been confirmed. And if you look at the President Buhari body language, there is no doubt this man is going to be confirmed. Because on arrival from Saudi Arabia, also if my memories have me right, he said the IG has been losing a lot of weight. It's just because he's been working. So that is an indication that the president himself is watching. But now that it's been confirmed, it's an opportunity for him to now hold the bull by the horn and face the challenges we are having in this country, the challenges of people being kidnapped on a daily basis, the challenges of unnecessary violation of human rights going on here and there, and then the issue. And subsumed into that is the issue about police welfare, training, and all of you. So he has a lot in his plate, really, to be realistic. And now that it's been confirmed, he needs to deliver. And what I would say, and I would suggest, is that he should try as much as possible and promise little and deliver big. I'll give way to my brother.
All right, Sikian, yes. I wonder what you make of the Operation Puff Ada that was in operation, or that was launched a few months ago, as the case may be, has been recording some successes here and there, if you have to put it that way.
Yes, I also join my brother in congratulating the new IG on his confirmation. It's from where we are coming from. Most people have usually forgotten the problem we had with last IG. It was a terrible thing. He was so political that he left his what he ought to do and start delving into politics and the rest of them. But I've been highly impressed with the new IG since he resumed. He seems to be a man well cut out for what he has been appointed to do. Now, coming back to your question, yes, the new outfits, don't forget, was launched basically to handle the insecurity, especially along the Kaduna, Abuja expressway that has become the most dangerous route in the whole of the country, and even worse than what we have in Borno. And so far, so good with people like DCP Abakari, who is the head of the IRT team, and other sister agencies, what they've been doing so far. They've tried, but it's not yet Uhuru, because just as they are mopping up some of these guys, you still see them living and relocating, and have been doing a whole lot of havoc. And that in itself is spreading across Nigeria, not just along that axis, because even if you look at other parts, we're also having that issue. But with the confirmation now, I think it's going to be very, very different.
Okay.
Very, very different.
One other area that has generated a little controversy in the last few days is the report that the federal government was going to issue a license to set up a radio station to be able to reach out to herdsmen. In fact, it's on the first paper we what is it called, reviewed earlier on The Guardian. That's what's on the paper on the headline today. Femi, I wonder what you make of this.
Well, ideally, the position of the federal government is that, look, this will encourage social mobilization, and then in order to nip in the bud, these Fulani herdsmen clashes here and there. But whether setting up a radio station, the first question which I will ask is that, don't we have enough radio stations already? And why don't we key into that and ask them that, look, you can dedicate 1 hour or 2 hours of your program in these people's language. I think Fulfulde, something, I can't really get the pronunciation right. Now, why don't you dedicate 2 hours of your program?
It's assumed that Fulfulde,
yes,
maybe that's what you're trying to say.
That, yes,
but the point there is, when it comes to the issue of herdsmen, we have always had issues with the concept of tagging them people of a certain tribe or ethnic group.
Yes, I agree, because some of them have their own cultural way of life. Like, you know, they live what you call nomadic existence because they move from one place to the other. But there are other ways you can reach to them. I think they have an association. I think the federal government, allegedly, they said there's been an agreement to do this and that. But the point is this, you see, we need to be very careful, because if you are not careful in dealing with one particular matters, or you succumb to unnecessary demand of a group, if we are not careful, another group will rise up and make an unnecessary demand. Now, if we give them radio station, for instance, and if the people in Niger that start their own agitation for one way or reason or the other, are we going to set up another radio station? If those in the Southwest now start their own agitation, are we going to set up? You know, so there are a lot of issues here. But I could understand the people who are being critical. I could understand where they are coming from. But what I'm concerned about is this. What is the problem with these people? Somebody needs to sit down. There's the need for a roundtable discussion. You can set up as many radio stations as you like. I don't think that will solve the problem. That's my take on that.
Oh, okay. In Katsina State precisely, the governor has called, in fact, some of the headlines say, beg federal government to come to the aid of what's going on in Katsina State almost every day, day in, day out. We often hear of bandits and attacks here and there, and even kidnapping in other cases. I wonder how serious you see, or how different or peculiar is Katsina State in the issue of insecurity right now? It
is very challenging, sincerely. It's very challenging. If you put in perspective, even currently, a top traditional ruler in Katsina State, specific Daura, where the president comes from, has been picked up over 3 weeks now. Nobody knows where he is. And apart from that, just a few days ago, several people were killed in Katsina. And just before that, there have been a series of, in fact, it got to a point where the governor had to call out the president and the federal government to come and assist. It is even more worrisome that this is a state where the president comes from. And charity, we say, begins at home. So if the president's charity is not beginning from home, then it becomes a problem. That only goes to show the level of insecurity in the country. It's not just Katsina, it's across the board. Things have gotten worse than, so I was surprised when the president was just doing his validatory service, was saying that he needs to commend his cabinet for being able to handle the issue of Boko Haram and the rest of them. Let us not just bury, let them not just bury our heads like ostrich on the sand, in the sand, and while the rest of our body is left exposed.
All right.
The problem in Katsina is very challenging.
All right, well, let's see how things go as we get along. Now that the IG has been confirmed, let's see what more impact can be brought on the table. Thank you very much, Chris Kendingwandu, for
Thank you very much.
program. Femi, I know, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Take a look at stories making the headlines in Nigerian newspapers, and I have with me in the studio at this time publisher and editor-in-chief Chris Kendingwandu, public called CKN.
It's nice to be here.
And leadership and communication strategist Dr. John. It's good to have you join us this morning.
It's a pleasure. Good morning.
All right, so let's begin with the Guardian newspaper today. Its main story: Fulani radio is route to crisis. Leaders warn. Atiku alleges plot to link him other PDP leaders with killings. 6 arrest of Lai Mohammed. Apology for false allegation. From there, we move on to Vanguard newspaper. Oshodi Apapa Expressway. Truck owners begin vehicle removal today. Oshimbajo to report compliance to Buhari. Stakeholders meet to implement presidential directive. No temporary park under Marine Bridge. Lagos State government says so. Who will enforce presidential directive? Found the news analysis there. From Vanguard to Daily Sun, which has as its main story, governors blow hot over local government funds. Describe new NFRU guidelines as illegal to meet Buhari on insecurity. Be careful what you say, Oshimbajo cautions governors. That's it on Daily Sun. On Blueprint newspaper this morning, IGP on insecurity. We are up to the task. Riders confirmed as police boss pledges restructuring. Puff Ada nabs 113 bandits, kidnappers, others in Borno, Kogi. Save us from bandits. Masari is begging the federal government. Okay, now to the Nation newspaper, and the story here is scores held as police battle criminals in Lagos, others. Operation Puff Ada yields big harvests. Adamu confirmed. Inspector General. That's it on the Nation newspaper. On the front page of this day newspapers, Fayemi's emergence as Nigeria Governors Forum chair positions him as a Southwest numero uno, vows not to sacrifice national interest. That's on this day. And now to the Daily Times. Fresh ASU strike looms as union accuses federal government of breaching agreement. Nigerians react, seek early resolution of disputes. Now, gentlemen, let's look at the story on the front page of Daily Sun. Governors blow hot over local government funds, describe new NFRU guidelines as illegal, and are planning to meet the president on insecurity. But of course, the vice president is cautioning them to be careful what they say. Local government autonomy is one issue that people had looked forward to in some places, but it seems not to be going down well. Where's the governor, CKN?
Yes, expectedly. Expectedly. You don't expect the governors to easily give in to such because that has become another avenue for, is a cash cow for them. Ordinarily, you ought to know that the local government administration, just like the state government, is a authority of government. And the need for its autonomy is very, very key, because that's the only arm of government that is very, very closer to the people. So in terms of development, that is where the redevelopment takes place. But the state governors and the state government have turned into another arm of their government. In fact, it has now become executive, legislative, and local government. Leave the judiciary out of it. And what they do is that they collect, because this fund is paid directly into the accounts of the state government to be distributed to the local government. So they just do whatever they want to do with it. It doesn't trickle down to the local government. At the end of that, some governors that just send as little as 100,000 naira every month to local government. Okay, and that shouldn't be the case. So that has become a problem, and they've seen that the new law being put in place as an avenue to be able to curb that and streamline things and also take off some funds of them. But I think we should have to stick to this, because if the local government fails, then the entire system is failing.
Okay, there are some states in Nigeria where there are local council development areas. Those are not exactly included in the constitution, but they exist to further help with administration. How does this trickle down to them?
One of the reasons why the governors, especially the ambitious one, will never allow this to happen is what you just mentioned now. Because the local government development areas don't have direct allocation from the federal government. So what the state governors do in that instance is to get the money, because the over 20% of the federation percent of the amount that come is actually for the local government. So when they get it to themselves, instead of sending it directly to the local government, they share it within the local government and the SCDA. But in this case now, if the federal government decides to credit the account of the local government directly, that means that many of the SCDAs that you see today are going to close shop, because there will not be fund, except if they want to run on IGR, which I doubt whether they can actually run on.
But couldn't they be administered by the local governments? Because if, say, 2 or 3 LCDs fall under a local government, so that local government could take responsibility for those LCDs.
That's going to be a special arrangement within the state, but it's still going to amount to some kind of illegality. Because the real essence of it, as recognized by the federal government, we have about 774 local governments as recognized. So when you send money to some of these local governments, it's going to be the understanding. If I were a chairman of SL, the local government, for example, and you create an SCDA under my government, and I need the money for the welfare of the people in SL, the local government, I may tell you that I do not trust the SCDA chairman that is close to me. I want to administer the money by myself. So it's a lot of things that are going to play out at the end of the day, and it's going to affect the present structure of governance, especially in states with SCDA.
Okay, as it is now, it may not be only the governors that are skeptical or critical of this move by the NFRU. Some time ago, the NUT, the Nigerian Union of Teachers, actually organized a protest that they do not want to be under the local governments. They do not want their payments to come from them. Now that there's LG autonomy and automatically they should be under the LG, what happens?
Well, that's the structure until we have, we reject the constitution as it were, until we bring some level of amendment to the constitution. It will remain what it is. That is what it is now. And, but even at that, I don't think we'll have that kind of problem if this present structure is, if we maintain the present structure, if the local governments are getting their money directly, getting their allocation directly as it were, I don't think some of this problem will be, as I said there are some local government that just get 100,000 naira allocation every month. What that be able to do? Okay, and when we're talking of the structuring, it's not just about the funding. Also look at the tenure. In fact, most of the governors have turned the local government areas or local government CDs at their personal, as more like an extension of their office.
In most cases, they are
most of them just don't even conduct elections into the local government. Some of them just reduce the tenure to 1 year, some reduce to 2 years, some don't even, some stay for over 8 years, and they don't conduct the election. If those local government are becomes autonomous as it were, you will realize that the constitution states the exact time every local should have a local government election. And most often than not, you come to realize that now what they do is that the governors just pick up somebody that is loyal to them, and just place them as an administrator of the local government, and that becomes a problem. Right
now, gentlemen, the issue of corruption is one general matter. And as much as we're talking about local government autonomy, there are still concerns about how well the local government chairpersons will be able to administer these funds.
I think we should not even go there, because when you are asking, it's as if we are afraid that the local government chairman is going to embezzle money. Are we not afraid that the governor is going to mismanage money? The level of mismanagement we have at state level now is even alarming. We are only covering them, so to say, because everyone is concentrating on the federal government. If we had asked basic questions, I'm going to cite an example of the Niger Delta state. We always clamor for a better welfare for the people of Niger Delta, but we have never asked the basic question as to what the governors are using their allocation for. One of the reasons why NUT is actually skeptical is the reason It's the same reason that governors will corner the money and they will not release it to local government. So if this money comes directly, if elections are held in the local government after 3 years, if governors don't have total control of who becomes the chairman or the caretaker, and they continue to change it, then we are going to know development, more development from the grassroots.
All right, gentlemen, it's been good having you on set at this time. Chris, Kehinde Nwando, and Dr. John. Many thanks.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, joining us this morning. Thank you very much for coming.
Yes, thank you.
And I have leadership and communication strategist, Dr. John. Dr. Good morning as well.
It's good to be here.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's begin with The Guardian. Fulani Radio is route to crisis. Leaders are warning on that. And Atiku alleges plot to link him, other PDP leaders with killings. That's some of the multiple riders on the front page of The Guardian. Seeks arrest of Lai Mohammed, apology for false allegation. Okay. That's on the front line of The Guardian. From there, let's go to the Vanguard. Vanguard is saying Oshodi, Apapa Expressway, truck owners begin vehicles removal today. And Oshibajo to report compliance to Buhari. And stakeholders meet to implement presidential directive. And no temporary park under Marina Bridge. Marina Bridge. Lagos State government is saying that. And who will enforce presidential directive? News analysis. The way to see how these things play out. From the Vanguard, let's go to the Daily Sun and see how bright it's shining. Governors blow hot over local government funds. Describe new NFIU guidelines as illegal to meet Buhari on insecurity. Be careful what you say. Shibajo cautions governors. All right, we'll certainly be talking about that shortly as well. From the Daily Sun, let's go to the Blueprint. IGP on insecurity. We're up to date, up to task. We're up to the task. Confirmed as police boss pledges restructuring. And Puff Ada nabs 113 bandits, kidnappers, others in Borno and Kogi State. Save us from bandits, Masari begs federal government. That's the governor of Katsina State. From there, let's go to The Nation. The Nation newspaper is next now. Scores held as police battle criminals in Lagos and others. And Operation Puff Ada yields big harvests. Adamu confirmed IG of police. From The Nation, let's go to this day. Fireman's emergence as NGF got the NGF chair position. NGF chair positioned him as Southwest numero uno. That's the Nigeria Governors Forum. Right, that's the latest now. Vows not to sacrifice national interests. That's on the front page of this day. From there, let's go to the Daily Times, which is the last paper for this morning. Fresh ASU strike looms as union accuses government or federal government of breaching agreement. Nigerians react, seek early resolution of dispute. That's the Daily Times this morning. All right, gentlemen, let's talk about the presidential order or the directive by the president giving 72 hours for the Apapa gridlock to be, taken off, and then 2 weeks for the whole of Apapa to be ridden of traffic. I'd like to start with you, Dr. on this.
Yes, Apapa is a community with many commodities. If you ask me, we have a lot of interest here and there. And they say it's better late than never. I'd expected in a country where systems never work, where everyone is looking at the direction of whatever the president says or whatever his body language is, I'd expected at least from the presidency, if not from the president directly, that a directive will have come. Because you remember that the last time he visited Lagos, within the twinkle of an eye, all the trucks there disappear. It shows that we actually have the capacity to do that if we want to do. Then on the other hand is that we are not just going to give a directive as to, everybody leave the road without creating an alternative. So the government has given a directive, fine. Either we like it or not, people are going to comply with the directive. But again, in the head of the government too, there must be a place for us to think that we need to create an alternative. If not, relocating tank farm, which is exceedingly difficult.
So that the impact of this is not temporary.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Femi, looking at the fact that this is not the first time there is a move by the federal government to clear Apapa and all of that. We've seen the vice president has visited Apapa Summit not once, not twice. The government of Lagos State have also tried at one time or the other to clear that place. And we didn't see any, apart from maybe a 1 or 2 days impact. Everything goes back to normal. What do you think is different with this one?
Well, this one is coming from the president. Maybe that's the difference. And my major concern is this. You see, you have to be very careful. If you think you are solving one problem and you could go and create another one. And I agree with Mr. Dotun that, look, we have an issue here. If you don't create an alternative for these people, what they will do, maybe some of them will move to somewhere else, and then another problem will crop up there. That's why, you know, and the other question is that how come, how did he get that far, whereby the president has to give a directive? Now, don't you have the Nigerian Port Authority? Don't you have the federal highway agencies and what have you? Does that mean these people don't even have power? It is only when the president said, look, this must be done within 72 hours. And we have to be very careful about what is called knee-jerk reaction, because by the time you say within 72 hours and there is no alternative, then another 72 hours problem will crop up somewhere else. And that is my major concern. But by and large, on the flip side, it's a sharing news somehow, because, you know, people plying that road, I must be sincere to you, have heard a lot of horrible stories, people spending hours and what have you. And it's not supposed to be that way. And this is a problem that has been going on for too long. And how long is it going to go on for? And also, some people, because this Nigeria, one thing I realize in Nigeria is that there are a lot of people who are making money from the misery of others. Even creating this havoc, some people are even, despite the gridlock, some people are making money because they know you get frustrated, they want to sell pure water to you, then your engine, you know, there are a lot of issues here.
Right.
So, but it is very important, let us see, and I think one thing I'm happy with, the president said the vice president must report back to him, because, you know, you don't want to be an armchair leader, whereby you just give instructions, they just come and tell you what you want to hear.
Like the former IG and the Benue issue. All right. Now, Dr. the point there is, a lot of analysts have said, okay, fine, a directive from the president is a good thing if it works out. But some of the reasons we have this gridlock, the bad road to Apapa and that axis is an issue altogether. The concentration of the ports, the tank farms and all of that is another issue altogether. And these things are still there. Yeah.
We need to quickly address the transport system. And it's not just, it doesn't end with fixing the road. Okay. Because even if you fix the road now, the number of vehicles plying the road will become at the end of the day, I'm not sure the road is going to last forever. And I know that there's a track, a rail track, that leads to Apapa. One thing I was thinking in my head, it's good to build rail line across the nation, but it's always very good for you to identify your point of profit. Apapa, as we speak now, is a point of profit to the federal government. So I'm thinking in my head that why not concentrate on that business side by first taking care of the transport system in Apapa area, so that many of these goods that we are moving using trailers and trucks, we can actually use rail system to actually move them out of Apapa. Once you do that, at least it's going to lessen the burden on the road and perhaps.
All right, we spoke with the DG of the Nigeria Ports Authority at the time, and she was talking about the fact that they're trying to look at the possibility of running a 24-hour port service and business. And we look forward to that sometime. Now, one other issue I'd like us to talk briefly is the controversy between the NFIU guidelines and what the governors are saying. Femi, I know I'd like to start with you on this. Now, the both sides are making references to the Constitution as to the NFIU, whatever they're coming forth with, the guidelines are illegal. That's what the governors are saying. Yes. If you look at the other hand, they're saying that the NFIU is also saying it is illegal for governors to also always put their hands into the funds of the local government. What do you make of this?
Yes, I don't even know why they are making a big issue, a mole out of a molehill for nothing. Because at the end of the day, you know, the NFIU is part of the EFCC, and it's an autonomous body within the EFCC. And this stems from Article 14 of the United Nations Convention on Corruption. And there is also something that happened here some years back, which they call Financial Something Task Force. Okay, so that's how. And what do they do? Let's ask the question. To ensure they share global intelligence, prevent money laundering, terrorist financing, and what have you. That's what the NFI stands for. And now, this directive is ancillary to their main duty. and they said you cannot withdraw more than 500,000 per day, and then the local government must have a separate account. Yeah, that's fine, but that doesn't really fight corruption, because from Monday to Friday, if I can't withdraw 500,000 per day, on Monday I write a check for 500,000, and then on Tuesday I write another
It's still
one.
the same thing.
Do you understand?
So if you want the work
Within
done,
30 days, I'm sure you withdraw
if you
everything.
want the work done on the 30th of June,
Exactly.
you start signing checks today.
No, it's as simple, because I think I dealt with a matter between some two partners where they give a mandate that if there's a check above £2,000, the two partners must sign. And this character has been writing a check for 1,900 short of £1, and it's been making withdrawal. So, you know, I don't know whether this go along.
It's all right, Doctor, but I wonder what you make, what scenarios will play out going ahead, because the governors are saying they're going to see the president, and I wonder what the president can do or will do in this
I'm
regard.
actually happy that the governors are coming out to say it's illegal, and the other party is also saying it's illegal. The summary of the whole thing is that illegality plus illegality will always amount to illegality.
Okay.
What has been happening, the totality of what has been happening has been illegality. So the governors, what the governors are trying to do in the very simple calculation, if you look at the percentage of allocation, the federal government takes over 52% of the national destiny, the state government takes over 26%, and the over 20% remains for the local government. So what the state government want to do is to be able to move up a little bit by adding their own 20% to, by adding their own 26% to the 20%
Of
that
the
the
local
local government is having, so that they can do more.
All right, we'll wait to see how this things pan out and what the president is going to come up with. Thank you very much, Femi Aino, for coming on the program, and Dr. Ojo.
It's a pleasure, Liz.
Right.